Corporation. Excuse me.
One of them.
I'm going to ask David Boutin if he'd lead our invocation.
Please pray with me, dear Lord. First and foremost, thank you for all the blessings that you have bestowed and continue to bestow on this community. Guide us in our decision-making today so that the results of our work benefits our community in the best possible way. Please protect all first responders and all those who are caring for those in need. Make this holiday season the best it can be for our citizens, and continue to help us to do your work going forward. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Man, it's sparsely populated.
Thanks, American flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
and the Texas flag.
Honor
the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. All the members.
I'd like to, we're to the honoring one of our board members that's having her term limit out. Melanie, we're so thankful to have you here as a member since 2017 as a ODC board, but you've been on the compliance before that.
Yes.
Considerably. You've been an asset for this. We could stand. Or I'm gonna give this to you.
I'm okay.
You've been an asset to this board for so many years, donated a lot of time for this. We sure appreciate it so much. And your legal knowledge and everything you've done to help us has been so phenomenal.
Well, thank you.
Just
I
a short
hope
time
I've
I've
been
worked.
useful to the
Very,
community.
very useful. We have a plaque to give you. It says, presented to Melanie Holman in appreciation of service for outstanding leadership, contribution, and economic development of our community and citizens. Odessa Development Corporation, June 2017 to December 24. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. My name is spelled right in return.
Hopefully so. Her knowledge of legal has been so effective in this board through the years she's been here. Almost 2 years I've been here. It's been so helpful all the time that we've had together. Appreciate it so much. Okay, consider amendment minutes in November 12th, 24 meeting. Anybody had a chance to read those?
I move for approval.
You have a second?
Second.
Second by Melanie Holman, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that motion passes. Any member of the public may address the ODC board regarding any of its agenda items before or during the consideration of the item. Citizen comments on non-agenda items. Number 6. Any citizen? Okay. And then contract reports. Tom Mansky.
Good afternoon. You will find my report, our report, after the minutes. I won't go through every project. I'll tell you there's a few that are keeping us very busy right now. The first page, all 4 of those items are keeping our office very busy. Project TCP, Project Birthday Balloon, Van Zant, and Project Tex West. Actually, Project Tex West just changed their name. Their consulting group has changed it to Horseshoe. Don't ask me why, but that is now Project Horseshoe. They were in town earlier this week. They were in town a few weeks ago. We've had a number of calls, Zoom calls from them. Matter of fact, Tracy's been setting up a lot of those calls, and she's tired of setting up Zoom calls. But it's a group that likes to talk a lot. But we can't tell you much more than that because that's one of those rare projects. We actually have 2 NDAs with them. But I can tell you that the investment has a B behind it. They're looking at a site in West Ector County. And so we're hoping that we can keep that moving along. They will be in for a multi-day visit later in January. And I asked them, they made a presentation in closed session the other day at the Ector County Commissioners Court. We had them over there. And they walked the commissioners through a really good PowerPoint of where phase 1 that was a little tougher to get support on a few years ago, where that is now leading to ultimately what could be 5 phases of this project. And so I said, when y'all come in January, would it be okay for one of the meetings we put together be the ODC board, and you walk them through the same thing you just did with the county commissioners? And they said they'd be happy to do that. And it was a good eye-opening, it's a short 6-7 slides max. But I think as an ODC board, whoever's on the board at that time, I think it'll be very educational to show you from start to finish on a project. And so, plus their consulting firm who walked through the whole thing is Kroll, and we've worked with them on a number of projects, and they were actually very complimentary to our office, so we would love to have y'all hear that also. So, and then the other ones, Birthday Balloon, Van Zant, they're all moving. TCP, we had representatives from that project in our office, probably about a week and a half ago. And so the phones are starting to ring again, and it's getting active. It'll probably slow down a little bit here by the end of this week until first week of January. But there's a lot of good things going on. Wanted to mention, too, on workforce development, we've got a project I've mentioned to y'all before. I started putting it in, memorializing some of the things on it in writing so that I can present it to you at our January meeting. Project Cohort. And it's, as I mentioned before, the chamber received a grant because they have an economic development office through ACCE for this project. And we're working with Odessa College and some others to develop a pipeline for, and I'm very careful saying this, immigrants that are already here in the area that may not be legally capable to work, to provide them with a pipeline to become legally capable to work, all the way to, if they so choose, to U.S. citizenship. We're working with an agency locally who is on our team now as far as the committee. They've actually had 3 people now in the last couple of weeks become U.S. citizens through the program, and it's bringing together those types of things along with memorializing the credentialing that's already taken place in the community from like what OC's doing. This group now with the citizenship and a lot of ESL training. And so there's a lot of different moving parts. We've reached out and received some volunteers out in the community. Dawn Weeks has joined our effort and some others. And so it's a growing program, and it's finally starting to take some traction after probably a year. But I think in talking, I was on a webinar about federal programs during lunch today, and one of the things they said you're going to see an increase of, and I think y'all have already seen it in the last year with ODC, workforce development programs are really becoming a priority for economic development organizations, and because of the history of the incoming administration, they feel like there will be probably further funding cuts in workforce programs, and so you're going to see more efforts at the local and state level, and I think this kind of fits right into that. And so So that's going to be a good program, and you'll get much more detailed information on that coming up. You'll see, moving back, our BR&E visits for November. One of them at the top I'll highlight is CIG Logistics. They are actually one of the companies we're talking to about what are the possibilities, feasibility of a potential inland port. Had no idea how big their operations are. They've got rail operations around a good portion of the country. And I actually talked to them because most of their efforts are in frac and oil and gas, and said, would you look at a true general inland port that's not just that? And they are definitely interested as we try to move that forward. And I can see the look from Dan. I need to speed up because he told me he's got something to do here shortly. You'll see our economic indicators after that, and then once again, there's our social media and what's going on there, and another good month, a lot of new followers on everything except for X. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. I know I'll be back up here on a couple other items shortly. If there's no other questions.
Thank you, Tom.
Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Christy Calico with, hang on, we'll go back to it. With advertising is not able to be here. She's at the behavioral health topping off ceremony right now, so she couldn't be here today. That's the next one. Okay. So I got an update she sent me. I'll give this, is that okay if I go ahead and give this? On the digital marketing, ads continue to perform well this month. We're adjusting in January to make room for native content marketing that Golden Shovel is providing. This will help us get articles and coverage in the trade publications and podcasts. In the logo design, we're on round 2 of designs, getting close to finishing up the new logo. The website, new landing pages have been created for the construction industry and for professional services. Those will be live later this month. And on lead forensics, we're doing new training with staff very soon to find ways we can better utilize data we're receiving. And then facade grants, we're starting a social campaign to promote facade grants so that local business will know what is available. On News West 9, we're starting interviews with this series next week and start in January. They finished filming new testimonials last month and currently editing those. They'll start running on social, and our digital campaigns starting January. That's about all Christy had. She's updated me on some things that just sent it early. Next would be the Black Chamber of Commerce. Chris Walker.
Good evening to everybody. Hope everybody's holiday was great. I'm contestant number 12, as you can see. Got my number on me. Dan, I'm going to keep it right at 3 minutes. I timed myself. It's been a while since we've made a report, but our report comes in each and every month. First thing I wanted to say is that we are proud of the progress that we have made. We're to the point now that I know, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, because our numbers are really starting to take off, and the young lady that handles this, if I did not kind of high point this, she would probably be really upset. But we like a 9% growth in our followers, and 45% in traffic. Over our website saw a 45% increase, and I don't know if they're getting us mixed up with someone else, or if we have information that they'd like to look. So we're hoping that the information that we're making available, we're to the point now that we were kind of entertaining different companies. Now we're having companies actually coming in to the point where they're asking, how do we get funding? So now we are starting to send them to Tracy and Tom, and Tracy has been kind enough to sit down with 2 or 3 of our companies now that we are trying to actually get to the stage where they're coming before you. So hopefully we can get them through. We're trying to get them out to Tyler to get them business plans. And I think the word is out that, it's not very hard to get this process going. So we're trying to get them here to in front of you to ask for monies. And they're starting business, really good businesses that would be beneficial to Odessa. So they're on the tax roll, they're paying taxes, they're hiring, they're creating jobs. So that's one thing one gentleman, he has a service that he does. It's really unique. He has one unit that he has put together. He bought us some prototypes. He showed it to us. He is at the point he'd like to increase to five service trucks. So it's a service truck on wheels. It's amazing. But we're trying to get him first through Tyler to get a plan. And then once he has all of this, we wanted to kind of, introduce him to the community and let people see what he has to offer. Same thing, we were able to sit down with another company. They're trying to expand. They have a company here, but they want to expand and possibly double the size of their company, which we're sitting down and walking them through the process. So we're trying to get them to the point that we can get them over to Tom and Tracy, and they can get a lot more information, get them through to Tyler and the SBDC. We're in the process.
Chris, can I ask a
Yes,
question?
yes, go ahead.
The gentleman has a roadside service. Does he specialize in oil and gas vehicles or that type of work, or
No,
is it just
residential as well.
Okay.
He, if it's to the point that you want your vehicle serviced at your house,
Oh, okay.
you make an appointment with him. He has everything in his unit to the point that he can come to you and do everything there from basically changing your tires, balancing your tires, rotating, pretty much on, a deal on wheels. It is so unique. I've never seen this before. I was kind of blown away when he bought it up to the building and this big dinosaur sitting out in front. But once we walked in and he showed me what he had, it was like, wow, this is very unique, creative, very sharp man. So he would like to cover everything from Louisiana to Florida. He needs 5 units to do that. So this is where he's coming in to the point that he is trying to get him a plan to the point that he can get some funding to help him expand his business. So this is one of the, and another young lady, she does a legal service. So we're seeing things that I had never seen since I've been the president of the chamber. So to me, it's an honor because they're coming to us and they're not afraid to ask, what do I need to do to advance my business? Now we are able to help and tell them, okay, if we can get you into Tom and Tracy, they can tell you if this will be covered. Is this unique? Is this an ideal that will be covered? So, and as always, I'm always looking for funding for our restaurants that we have that's trying to expand and bring into Odessa. We have 2 that's located in Midland, but they would like to open an Odessa store as well. And we, as of today, when I leave here, we're going to finish. I had to go change and put back on my cooking clothes. We be passing out probably 200 to 250 free meals tomorrow, along with food boxes, vouchers for families that are in need. So we decided to, as part of our 40th anniversary, we wanted to do kind of a give back. So we're going to give these families not just food boxes, meats, and different things, poultry, for the holidays. We're going to also give them a free meal as well. So we're preparing those, and I'm able to put my cooking skills to use. So, and we pretty much, we're seeing our numbers increase all across the board. All of our, what did my younger, because I just had a birthday and I turned 64, so I had to increase my privilege and dosage. It was to the point that that our Instagram and then all of our followers, and she explained to me how that works. So she always upgrades me, and she say it continues to grow. So hopefully this is because of our upcoming gala, which will be December 28th, and this is our 40th anniversary end of the year gala, which we're just saying thank you for supporting us, and we're just going to have live music, hors d'oeuvres, and just have a great time, good music. So all across the board, we're seeing increase, we're seeing growth, we're seeing our numbers go up, we see people coming in, they're stopping by the office and they're asking us, what can we do to get some financing or get our business to grow, or how do we develop our business? So it's very exciting. So we're going to have some new committees come about in 25 to kind of oversee some of this, because it's kind of, overwhelmed us, and I wasn't expecting all of this. So that's something I'm really glad about. I hope it keeps overwhelming me. So I don't know how much my heart can take, but I'm good. So any questions? I know I was over 3 minutes, but I was down. Any questions? And a lot of new faces. Good evening to everybody that I haven't met or not familiar with. So if nothing else, have an immaculate day.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Next, the SBDC, Tyler Patton.
Good afternoon. Hope you're all doing well. Our report is in your packet. I wanted to go over a few things. You can obviously see the numbers for yourself. The big exhale that you hear coming from our Midland campus is us. In October, we had 535 counseling sessions. In November, 357. That's well over our norm. And of course, we're also a little bit shorthanded too. But the good news is that means there's a lot of people interested in starting and expanding businesses. And that's what we're there for. The capitalization for thus far this fiscal year is $282,400. We have once again opened up our system so our clients can update it themselves, and we're looking at somewhere around $2.8 million for December right now. So that's going to bounce way back up there. Training sessions, we had 8 in October with 136 attendees. We only had 1 in November and 2 in December. As you might imagine, workshops slow down quite a bit in November and December. But some of the workshops that we had since we've last met, we started and have now concluded the Dine and Drive program, which is targeting people who either want to start or want to expand a restaurant operation, a food truck, anything basically in the food industry. Our own Danny Castro led that, and actually it was not just a Permian Basin program, it was throughout the entire region and state. He did a great job. We got some great reviews. We're going to bring it back again, hopefully year after year. Do a little tweaking here and there. But basically, it's all about how to manage a restaurant financially. Everybody understands the kitchen, the back stuff, all that kind of stuff is unique to each one, and their own talents pretty much take care of that. But the financial management, making sure that you can pay your bills and pay your folks and keep growing. That's what the Dine and Drive program is about. We also had our Grow with Google workshop, and we had an IP workshop. So our intellectual properties workshops, sometimes when we do them, we get 7 people. Sometimes when we do them, we get 30 people. It just depends. We got 24 this time, so I was pretty happy with that turnout. We partnered with the the Office of Commercialization and Innovation, Dr. Shedd's department, and that helped a lot too, bringing in some more people. Coming up over the next few months, well, it really started in January. Here's some of the workshops we have. Financial statement review will be the one right after the first of the year. How to start a franchise. We're going to bring in a franchise broker, and they'll make a presentation. We've worked with her on multiple occasions, and we always get good turnout and good feedback from folks. Tools for Profit, which is basically benchmarking and comparing your business against industry standards. And then financial management best practices, and that covers several different things. Everything from creating a budget to a monthly variance report to looking at ratio analysis. And then finally, fraud prevention. We'll have that one in March. So before next time I see you, I suppose. In October, we had 4 new businesses. One was a restaurant, one was a food processing company, one was a medical clinic, and another a spa. Looking at our numbers and our trends over the last 12 months, it's clear that, so second year in a row, our fastest growing segment in terms of industry is healthcare. Oil and gas services is still number one in terms of just pure volume, but in terms of increase year over year, for the second year in a row, it's healthcare. Healthcare, for our purposes, covers everything from a pharmacist to rehabilitative services to a clinic. So it's a pretty broad brush, but nevertheless, that is the fastest growing segment in our area. So that I like that. I think that's encouraging. So we've done quite a few of those type businesses lately. We made our nominations for SBA awards. One of the nominees was Odessa Montessori School. They have been nominated as the Woman-Owned Business of the Year. So they've been a client of ours for a number of years and do great work over there. Any questions?
What was the location of the spa and the restaurant? Were they Odessa?
Well, the restaurant was Odessa, yes. The spa is ultimately going to be in both cities, ultimately, is what he's going to do. So we have a lot of that. They'll start in one, but then they're going to go into the other. So, and frankly, it ends up depending on who has land available.
Got to get their feet wet.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
I have a question on the healthcare.
Yes, sir.
Everywhere you look, there is a new emergency care, urgent care.
Yes.
Everywhere. What's the longevity projected on these? Because it's just like any other business.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's about to be saturated.
Yeah.
You can go down the street and say a few blocks, and there's one here, one here, one here.
Right.
It'll take Grandview in 40 seconds.
Yeah.
Start there and go south.
Absolutely. Now, there are a lot of them, and to some degree it is saturated. But of course, as you know, the population is doing nothing but getting older. And we're going to end up needing more and more things, in particular rehab centers. They have a great success right now in this entire area. In fact, bankers are they're dying to get their hands on, give me anything in the rehab area.
Yeah. Along those same lines, as you know, Odessa and Midland, about the only thing they have for any kind of professional counseling is centers, and I hear this from other people that need help.
Mm-hmm.
They're overloaded. So
Yes, they are.
Any way that you might consider
Absolutely.
more of that in.
We've actually worked with groups who were setting up PLLCs, and it's a fairly simple process to do. It's just getting the people that are willing to go out there on their own and do it. But yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, Motran, Mr. James Beecham.
Our report's all going to go in line with our agenda items, so.
Okay. Moving on to City Administrative Support Financials, Ms. Kaylee Bonda.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, because our systems have been down for the last 3 weeks, I unfortunately do not have financials to present to you. I'll get those done. We're back online. I was officially back to 100% operational Monday afternoon. I've never been so happy in my life. So I'll get those finished and I'll get them sent out to you in the appropriate channels so that you can review them, and of course I'll go over them next month with you all. I did get sales tax figures this morning in, so I wanted to go ahead and give you what I could. So on a year-to-date basis, so we've just finished the first quarter of data, We have collected for ODC $3,724,872. We are on track to perform at the same performance level as last year, maybe a slight bit higher. On a year-over-year basis, we're about 6% over, so that is a good thing. Also, looking back kind of on a trend analysis basis, the first quarter of this year has been the highest performing in the last 4 years. So we've definitely seen sales tax continue to tick up, which is good. So just for informational, like I said, you're on track to hit about what you did last year. At the end of the fiscal year, you hit $14,387,345. This year we budgeted to hit $12.5 million, so it's pretty safe to assume that you will surpass that. So I'm sorry I don't have financials, but it's a little bit out of my control this time around. So
Understandable.
yes, thank you. Any questions or anything you want me to bring?
Kaylee, I
Yes,
know,
sir.
James is going to make a presentation with regard to trying to accelerate TxDOT projects with, some seed money, as we've done before. Are you going to be able to answer some questions with regard to how that's going to impact our reserves, our budget, and whatnot?
Yeah,
Just
so
ballpark numbers.
sure. So I think we're looking at doing about $15 million in set-aside projects. What we'll do is on your balance sheet, we'll set that aside, kind of how we already have the other TxDOT projects. Off the top of my head, I think you have about $44 million in unreserved. I'll have to.
Yeah, okay. That's close. I think that's going to be close.
50, I think, is what it is. I'm looking at the September one. It's the only one I have available. It was $59 million unreserved. So it's within what you budgeted. Not that you'll spend it all this year, and it'll hit your fund balance, but not detrimental.
Okay.
So we'll still have some fund balance to make those investment decisions that we talked about. Again, I don't have an update on that this time because of our systems, but we will get there next month. Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. ODC Committee and Officer Reports Partnership, we're going to meet on Tuesday. So we don't have any report on that yet. Current meter and partners, I went ahead and gave the information on current. And then DOI Grants Review Board, right? Larry, anything on that? Melanie? Anything? Nothing since.
There's not been any
nothing
meetings.
right now. And compliance, anything new on that?
No meetings there either.
Okay. And investment review, David, anything on that?
We did not meet.
Okay. So number 9, consider a resolution approving compliance and first annual incentive payment for Liberty Oilfield Services. Tom Mansky back up.
Good afternoon again. I don't think it's in your packet, but you should have received an email from Norman's office earlier in the week with regards to the draft of the compliance audit that Whitley Penn did. And according to what their measurements, Liberty is in compliance. They spent, by the end of March of '24, a little over $16 million in capital expenditure. If you've driven down Business 20 heading east, you can see just before Faudree to your right, their giant building going up there. They do not currently have any requirements on employment. Those do not kick in, I believe, until 26. And then there's another issue on an amendment later in the agenda, which I can discuss at that time. But I know they are eager to get their first payment. I believe it's 5 years, $500,000 per year. And it looks like they've met all their measurements. As a matter of fact, in a conference call with them on Friday, they've indicated they may have actually, since that compliance, they may have actually already hit the $34 million mark, and they indicated that they are going to be well above that when they're done. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions on this one?
And for those of you newer to the board, if we get the compliance draft and everything is in compliance, that typically doesn't go to the compliance committee for review. It's when there's a question, something comes up, whether it's employment, CapEx, or anything else that may pop up, that that the auditor identified. That's when we try to get the compliance committee together to discuss and see what direction we want to take with regards to the company, and then bringing it back to the board.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve the first payment for the Liberty First.
So moved.
Second.
Made by David Batten, second by Melanie Holman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Unanimous, thank you. Thank you. All right. Number 10, discuss and consider approving a resolution supporting future text dot projects. Mr. James Beecham.
Okay, based on our last meeting, we put together some information, got over to Dan and Tina, and they've got the resolution in your packet. I'm passing around kind of a simplified map on this. And just as a little background, this program originally started in about 2016. You passed your resolution dedicating the first $15 million then in 2017. I think your last resolution was 2019, where you designated several of those projects. In this map, we have some blue dots, and those are previous projects that were part of that leveraging program. Loop 338 and US 35 or 385 north as well as south. The East Yukon, there was some money on 52nd, 56 for a light originally, but that's going to be a full-on overpass at this point. There was also some money for improvements at 338 and 8 and 338, or two other projects that were both on Faudree, both the I-20 interchange and the BI-20 interchange. Just as kind of a note to why we did this and why we asked for you to leverage local tax dollars towards these projects is twofold. It, first of all, allowed the Texas Department of Transportation, the Commission, the excuse to provide additional funding beyond our normal programmed amounts. You, as a local community, were investing in these critical infrastructure projects, and that allowed them the justification to put more discretionary funds to our area. That program was done in conjunction with Midland, with $15 million on their side as well as $15 million on your side, and largely, again, was kind of related back to the loop with the exception of those two other projects. In addition to the additional funding that it brings to the table outside of that normal programmed amount, the other thing it allowed us to do was greatly accelerate projects that were way out on the list, because there was some dollar amount attached to that allowed us to move those up within the various TxDOT plans, and it allowed the planning and development work to go ahead and begin. And probably the best example I can give you is right now the Faudree and BI-20 interchange probably will happen late next year as opposed to 2028 when that was originally scheduled. So you move those up. And as you do that, it allows you the opportunity to take other projects in Odessa that are further out and move them into their slot. So again, it's expediting and it's providing additional money to the table. The other thing that I would say that's important in this, particularly in the growth that we've seen in this community, anytime there's a new road or a greatly improved access road, that allows new areas for development, and it allows greater mobility for the public. So that's important. And remember, something we've talked about here in the past is we've seen some pretty significant increases in travel times for people living in Odessa. So again, that becomes an important part to this. As we develop this list, and we've shared some of the projects with you before and kind of talked through this, we also, just as a note to you, worked with the district on that. We talked with the county about it because these projects are also in the county, and sometimes there are matching requirements as far as right-of-way and utility adjustments. And then finally, we took all of these projects to Brooks, who in turn was talking to the commission about them. So the list that is in front of you, we feel good about as far as accomplishing all those same objectives. Those new projects are listed in red here. The red dots, you see Loop 338 and 87th Street, Loop 338 in Grandview, Loop 338 and 100th Street, and then Loop 338 with West Yukon. I will tell you the basis of this, because I know sometimes in the past there's been criticisms about all the money being spent on the east side of Odessa. We also have one here on the west, but we really had a greater vision here. And that wasn't just to build some overpasses along the loop. It's to make Odessa's loop look like the loop in Midland. a full freeway design, 4-lane divided with access roads. And I will tell you, one of the good things that came out of this is in the current MTP, or the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which covers the next 25 years, every single project on Loop 338 is now included in there. So ideally, within that MTP, now some of those fall outside the 2050 range of the next 25 years, but I think the rest of those we can move up. We'll develop Loop 338 to that freeway standard. The first of those, and we're asking you to put a little bit of money on that, is segment 1. You see there with kind of the red asterisks or parentheses there. Essentially from 52nd, 56, just south of there, on up to 385 North would be that first segment that would fall in that next 20-year time frame to get that up to a freeway standard. The next part of that, there's also a portion on the west side going down all the way to 302. We did not include that in here because that's in that probably 2052 time frame, and I'm going to be beyond my life expectancy at that point, so I really didn't care so much about it. But those projects can move up. And so ideally what this is really getting you to is that northern segment of Loop 338 would all be that type of loop. I will tell you, within the MTP, it also includes the freeway for the west section, which when Richard was here before, that was part of the truck route, so that's also included in there, as well as the southern part. The two hiccups are, you'll notice that on this freeway segment 1, it doesn't go quite all the way to 191. And that's because we do have a project to revamp the 191 338 or intersection there on the east side with a direct connect, which will make the new council member, Craig Stoker, very happy that there'll be a direct connect in Odessa. But all that being said, again, what we're really trying to get to is that freeway design loop that you see in all these other communities, whether that's for retail, all those other things on the south side. Some of the west side will be more industrial. But again, it's about growing that out. And to put that in perspective, when I first came here, and Richard will remember this, was about 2003, the price tag on Loop 338 was $274 million to complete it at that time. Today, we have roughly about $35 million ongoing right now on it. There is projected over the next 10 years in excess of $800 million. And if you go into the next 15 years, which gets you to 2050, there is about $860 million additional dollars currently programmed within these documents. So at this point, you're looking at probably about $1.7 billion. But that's an enormous investment in this community, and that's part of why this leveraging package is so helpful. That being said, at this point, I will shut up and turn it over to any questions that you might have. Yes, sir.
Is there any particular order? There used to be an order these were coming in, but I know the Yukon at 191 preempted and pushed them back a little bit, but is this order, any 338, Grandview 100, it was...
The projected order in here, and I don't ever worry about that too much because things do happen. You know, in the case of 52nd, 56, it was pushed up to Yukon, and that was really at the time. You'd had some accidents there, so were working towards 52nd, 56, but then you had a couple really bad fatalities at Yukon. That kind of shifted the direction to go there and do the other or different intersection improvements at 52nd, 56 in the meantime. One thing that did throw off some of this, we did have a project that's Yukon and 191. That overpass went significantly over budget. That pushed some things out. So all this kind of moves around. I will tell you that at this point, the first two priorities of these new projects would be 87th and then Grandview. And then 100th Street is next out there on the list. But that first freeway design segment where you get your access roads becomes possible once you get 87th Street done, because that's the first breakout of that entire segment is 87th down to 52nd, 56.
Development on the corner on Four Corners, because nobody knows exactly how they plan.
I think,
Three of the corners anyway.
actually, I kind of think they do.
Do they?
Yeah, I mean, this was part of the, when we originally started this project, Loop 250 went pretty fast, and the reason it is because they already had the plans and all that kind of stuff was still sitting out there. Along the way, TxDOT in their archive system had really lost most of the stuff for 338, which was fine because so much had changed from those designs back during the early 70s that they pretty much had to update it all already. So we went back in and did this, and that's what gave us all the projects to put on the list. But they do have, and they had, I think, 3 or 4 public hearings where they were kind of going through some of these projects and the preliminary designs. Now, as you get into this, when they start building the 87th Street overpass, they're going to have to go back then as they go through that environmental process and additional public hearing for that individual overpass, just like all the others. There may be changes and things may occur there, but based on public input. But I think it's all pretty well out there.
And not long ago, those dates projected for 87th were like 27 or 29, and your paper, I saw the other day, said 30 to 45.
It's in that range. Probably on 87th, let me go back through here. It does fall in that. Like I said, right now you have in the 10 years that we're looking at, 2029 to 2034, you've got 52nd, 56, you've got 8th Street, you've got the Yukon to 385 freeway segment and 87th, all in there. Again, it'll kind of come down to their ability to move those projects forward. I would tell you that most of those, though, I think probably in the next 5 to 6 years.
One final question, the one on South 385
Mm-hmm.
at Loop 338, what kind of date do you forecast for that one?
That project is up right now, and my guess is it's probably, they said it would go faster than the north, but my guess is it's probably going to take about 2 years. So, but it's ready to let now. That one's ready to go forward.
I knew it was next in line at a point.
Well, and kind of what happens too on some of these, over the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of inflation, and that has caused some things to kind of get pushed a little bit. One thing that was helpful with the South overpass is that we did get $2 million in additional funding from the federal government on it. So that's kind of allowed that one to stay upright. But again, like I said, we've seen some of these other projects get pushed out just because of that. But I think at this point we're okay. And the nice thing is, when you put that money in, that allows the commission to put more money in for a project to be fully funded. And again, once that project is fully funded, it moves forward very, very quickly.
And one more time, what's the time limit when you put money in and they get it underway, that they have to start it or make progress on it?
There's really not.
There's not.
On federal funding, there are some rules depending if it's an appropriations grant versus a reauthorization grant on timing. But the definition on federal funds is about obligating those funds, and obligation is kind of a weird term. And so it's pretty flexible.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Key word is expediting.
Exactly.
Any other discussion on this?
Well, I just make a comment. I think from a philosophical perspective, what we tried to do was accelerate these projects with providing local investment, which was well received by TxDOT. There's no question about it. It worked like we intended for it to work. And if you think about it, there's no question about the fact that we're behind the curve on highway infrastructure. Now, I think this certainly helps us from getting further behind. I'm not sure we're catching up, but we're darn sure, helping the situation. And one of the byproducts that James was talking about is the safety issue. We're seeing an inordinate amount of accidents and certainly a lot of fatalities and whatnot. And that was another reason that, why we wanted to spend this money to accelerate this project, to give us the infrastructure, better infrastructure for what we need. But from an economic development perspective, there's no question of the fact that it accelerates also the growth of those businesses along those major corridors, which creates jobs and capital investment. So I'm all for it. I think it has been working. There's no reason for us not to look to the future, be visionary, and try to continue to put some money towards these projects. And I'm all in favor of it. And I know we have a resolution in here to the tune of another $15 million, and I'm certainly very supportive of that.
I would denote for your resolution that you have here today, what we're asking as far as specific projects would obligate the remainder of the original 15 million, which is 3.5 million that's encumbered. You're putting another 15 million forward. Of that, we're designating about 7.5 million of it.
Yep.
So that still leaves another 7.5 million of it because things change. If some big business comes in or what have you, and you have to do some other things, and that gives you some flexibility there. I would use this example, and I think part of the reason we've always kind of focused around the loop, though, in San Angelo, and this goes back to the early 2000s, when they completed the first segment of the Houston Hart Freeway, or their loop, that first quarter of it, within 18 months, you saw $600 million worth of additional property investment along that. And so when you open up those areas for businesses and development, there's a huge economic impact. And I always kind of stick to that because I know that's y'all's driving concern.
That's our mission.
Entertain a motion to approve. The
So move.
motion made by
Second.
David, second by Melanie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, James.
Thanks, James. Appreciate your work.
Number 11, consider resolution approving the addendum to the performance agreement with Liberty Oilfield Services. Tom Mansky, one more time.
Getting my steps in. You'll find in your packet an addendum to the resolution with regards to the agreement, the EDA agreement. We did one addendum already. You might remember we discussed it last time. This was like the first contract we did when we brought on new outside counsel, Jeff Moore. There was a lot of back and forth, and I think some things, either it was deliberate or not, inadvertently got missed. And where it was identified was when compliance started, and it was a CPA firm that had brought up some issues with it. And I know I've talked to the legal department, talked to Tina earlier. Technically, once y'all approved the payment today, earlier in the meeting, you don't necessarily need this addendum. But as I was sitting back there thinking about it, it would probably keep the accounting firm happy because they like baselines and things like that. And so I would go ahead and recommend consideration for it, just to keep them happy, and then we're not back here a year from now. I think, now that things are going full bore out there, they're going to stay way ahead as far as CapEx, and we certainly hope so with regards to once they get on the clock with their employment, with their FTEs. But I'll be happy to answer any questions. I broke that down talking with one of the accounting firms. If you look towards the bottom of that first page on the resolution, with regards to expenses, 15, and then a total of 20 by December of 2024, which I'm told they're above that now. And then item C, a total of 25 million. Item D, a total of 30, and then at the end, item E, which they initially said that was what they expected to be their total CapEx at 34 million, but they've indicated they're going to be way over that. And so with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So this is really a clerical issue more than anything else to.
It's cleaning it up a little bit for the accounting firm.
Makes things match up.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made by David Dugan. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Larry Robinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Thank you.
Tom,
You know,
quick question.
Yeah.
With appointment for the DOE coming out of Liberty, want that, point a good finger at Odessa Development Board, we gave Liberty money, and
Oh, we'll certainly utilize that. Yeah, for those of you who didn't know, Chris Wright, their CEO, who was also here for the groundbreaking in March of 24 or 23, I've slept since then. He's been tabbed to be the energy secretary by incoming President Trump. And that's why I will tell you, I've probably had 20-plus phone calls with these folks and more than that in emails in the last couple of weeks. And I don't know whose clock it is, who really needs it, but they want their payment, that first payment sooner than later. And so anything we can do to keep their outfit happy. And they have plans in the future to grow. And they've indicated they want to be a good corporate citizen and be active in the community. And we're certainly doing everything we can to encourage that. So, thanks.
Okay, number 12, upcoming dates for future ODC board meetings. It's scheduled for Thursday, the January 9th. Everybody good with that? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Moved by Melanie, second. I get a second?
Second.
Second.
No, we want to hang around the rest of the day.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good job.